Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our webinar, Elevate Your Customer Experience with Digital Identity. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar is being hosted on On24. Your console includes different widgets that can be adjusted in size, moved around, and minimized. For those who need to hop off before the session's over, don't worry. We'll email you an on-demand recording within 24 to 48 hours after we wrap up here today. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive right into it. During the session, we're going to take you on a journey to illustrate how a holistic identity solution can drive value for your business and for your customers. We'll start by looking at how you can combine a digital identity verification solution like Onphetos with an identity and access management solution like Octa's. We'll then bring this to life with a real-world example from B89, a fintech that's changing banking for Peruvians. First, let's kick off with some introductions and take a look at the current landscape.
I'm Swaroop, a group PMM at Okta focused on customer identity. I know many of you are already familiar with Okta, but for those of you who are new, Okta helps the largest financial services institutions like Ally Bank, Mr. Cooper, Farmers Insurance, and many more to secure their identity, authentication, and authorization experience for their banking clients and customers.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian, and I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Onpheto, where our mission is to build an open world where identity is the key to access. We help organizations like Barclays, Revolut, and DraftKings establish trust with their customers in a digital world by verifying identities. Now, if there's anything we can all agree on, I think it's that 2020 was not a normal year by any means, and this includes trust as well. The world changed, and as the physical world stood still, the digital world accelerated. Our work, personal, and family lives all came crashing together, from trying to figure out virtual homeschooling on Zoom to how to navigate the grocery store. And even for traditional 100% work from office companies, we've heard and seen some pretty incredible stories of employees being empowered to work from home within a matter of weeks. And this focus on digital efforts will only continue. According to a study by Gartner, 90% of HR leaders said they plan to let employees work remotely at least part of the time, even after a vaccine is widely adopted. And I think what we'll see even post-vaccine is an increasingly omni-channel society where the physical and digital worlds merge together in a way that makes it much easier, more convenient, and quicker for people to access the services that they need online.
That's interesting, Brian. At Okta, we are seeing the same trends across the board. What we are seeing is essentially decades of digital transformation being compressed into months. Companies have had to rethink how they engage with customers, how they leverage their workforce, and offer those same amazing financial service products without ever meeting their customers. A lot of these projects are being classified as accelerated digital transformation projects.
And really, there's no doubt that we're living in an era where consumers have become so accustomed to these on-demand digital services like Netflix and Amazon that convenience and experience are no longer just a nice to have. It's actually an expected requirement. And this actually carries over to consumer expectations for banking as well, since these people have banking needs. According to a study by PricewaterhouseCoopers, 94% of financial services companies said they were confident that some type of financial technology would actually help grow their company's revenue over the next 2 years. And this makes sense if you think about it, right? Through digital channels, you're not only able to reach more people, you're able to offer more products and services that will meet their needs in this changing world.
What we have seen across FSIs we serve is that the new digital wave is creating real digital challenges for organizations. As we embark on this digital transformation journey to offer delightful products and experiences, orgs have had to rethink their entire approach to critical aspects of the business. This includes things that haven't changed, like compliance. Traditional approaches to compliance really focus on meeting the spirit and the needs of the law, of the written law, but they typically forget the aspects about serving the business. Second, movements like open banking offer opportunities to disrupt the existing business model. And more often than not, it is incumbent institutions that are being disrupted than really taking advantage of these laws. And finally, what we see is that When it comes to the core question of identity and authentication risk, we know that a core concern for organizations is the risk of stolen PII data to create either synthetic identities at registration or leveraging stolen credentials to gain access into accounts that store a valuable financial information. The cost of identity fraud is something that organizations need to think about and actively mitigate against.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Swaroop, because according to a recent study that we did here at Onpheto as well, in our annual fraud report, we had some interesting findings around identity fraud, where not only is the quality and quantity of these cases rising in this increasingly digital world that we're living in, these identity fraudsters are actually working 24/7 versus a typical 9 to 5 that they were before. So fraudsters, believe it or not, before the pandemic, were actually clocking out at around 5 or 6 p.m. their time. And what's most interesting is actually the most impacted industry was actually financial services, which is super relevant to our audience here today. So if you think about it, identity fraud is a risk, not just at the initial onboarding stage, but throughout the entire customer lifecycle. And at the core of all of these things is your customer and really truly knowing who these people are. And it centers around their identity and how you verify and authenticate these identities. So if we think about this, what can this look like for your customers when you have a holistic identity solution that addresses your needs? Before we dive into that, really think about the digital identity lifecycle and that it's made up of a couple of components all the way from initial sign up and verification all the way through truly having that unified view from the marketing perspective of who your customers are and being able to address that directly.
Yeah, Gartner says that by 2022, 50% of all authentication use cases will involve a seamless experience like passwordless authentication. That is, just to speak to some of the points that Brian made just earlier, is that customers really focus on not just security, but also want a convenient experience while authenticating into their financial services app. So that is that they want authentication like a one-click check-in, or or using Face ID or Touch ID to log into their banking app.
Yeah. In addition to that, Gartner also said that businesses who have better customer experiences during the digital identity verification process will actually earn 20% more revenue. And if you think about that, that makes sense. One of our customers out in the UK, which is a financial technology company, they've actually been able to reduce their onboarding steps drastically by 85%, as well as increase their onboarding rates. So not only are they able to reach more people through this digital channel, they're able to be more efficient about the upfront customers that they're able to onboard onto their platform.
Yeah. So when it comes to a complete identity solution, we think about it in 4 key buckets. And we hope that these serve as a good framework as you rethink and implement a modern digital identity solution. The first experience that we focus on is delivering a frictionless customer experience. Today, customers expect a seamless experience without frustration. This spans from registration to authentication and even beyond. They want less time registering and authenticating and more time accessing a product that is very customized and personalized for their own personal financial goals. At a more concrete level, they expect identity proofing to happen in a seamless way without any interaction with the user or with the individual at the other end. They expect login to work with either one click or one touch. User friction with MFA only when required. Nobody wants to be pulling out their MFA, their phone, to enter their OTP code. And if nobody, right? And if not, they will bail from your application. Beyond login, during transactions, they want your system, your application to be really smart. They want risk-based authorization to drive from which phone can you accept those high-value money transactions. Or when you need MFA during those high-value transactions, you can leverage the same enrollment during login for MFA at the time of transaction. So this is where a modern identity solution can really focus on delivering a frictionless experience.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that. So to me, this is actually more about maybe the right friction at the right time. So if a customer is very high risk and you've identified that, Swaroop, and they're trying to attempt a very high value transaction, a little bit of friction is actually probably warranted, right? to make sure that you have that assurance, that extra kind of trust in who that customer is. And in terms of an example that I can provide, we actually have a fintech based out here in the US, and they actually use our solution not just for the initial onboarding, but also for step-up verification, as well as password reset and recovery. So think about, instead of the typical painful knowledge-based questions that we're all used to, like what street did you live on in the 4th grade, that we don't remember ourselves, or having your customer, be required to call into some support line that is super, super painful for them to do. Really, with a solution like Okta and Onfido, you're able to do a selfie, and that's essentially all it takes, as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that across the board. Nobody loves those security questions. They're awkward and confusing at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. The second point we have up here is actually secure growth. So it's not growing at all costs. It's doing it in a way that is secure and that makes sense for your business. So when I think about growth, I think about those two aspects of growing the pool, so expanding the value provided to your existing customers, but then also being able to reach more potential new customers through new and unique channels. So product upsell in terms of the existing customers, but then also increased acquisition rates, as well as opening up those new channels. And if you think about it in banking, if you know who, for example, a checking account customer is, and they have some changes in their life and are very confident who they are, maybe you're then able to serve them additional services that fit their need, depending on where they are in their lifetime.
It's interesting you mentioned about new acquisition channels, Brian. When I think about growth, especially from an identity perspective, it's about a few things. It's really offering a modern identity experience that works not just in their banking app or their mortgage account or their 401k account, but it's also about thinking about third-party apps that can be used both to onboard and distribute your product, right? Today, a lot of millennials love using services like Mint and Acorns. Everyone I hear uses Acorns, for example.
When they don't integrate, they get so angry too.
Exactly, right?
Myself
That is
included. Yeah.
absolutely. This in turn means that this is a new way for your business to acquire and onboard customers, but they also want to do this by taking their existing identity into those systems, right? You don't need to onboard a customer that's already been identity proofed. You can leverage their existing identity system when they try to log into Mint or Acorns, and they want to do this as seamlessly as possible with minimal friction. This represents new business opportunity because it changes your business model in the way you acquire customers. And now you can sell your product in these platforms as a way for you to grow. So that's something we're seeing pick up a lot in the United States. And a lot of customers come to us in building a modern identity experience that uses solutions like ours to offer to kind of really accelerate growth in their business. The third bucket I want to touch upon is agility with confidence. Now, for us, agility with confidence means a lot of things, but it also means being smart about you deploy your internal resources. Today, we know developers are one of the most scarce resource that banks have in their payroll. And when they think about building a new modern identity experience, they also think about it not just from building, but also the maintenance aspects of it. Having agility that allows the business to change their identity proofing requirements or their authentication requirements as the business seems fit and as the business needs is very, very critical. You cannot have a developer come back into the equation when you need to change an MFA policy or an onboarding policy. It has to be done through an admin with minimal developer time required.
Absolutely. And I think agility is being quick to move, and it really is key in terms of how you approach things. The only thing I would add to that is kind of think through who your partner is as you move forward. So are you able to move forward confidently? Do you know that the person you're working with can be trusted? Since we're talking about trust here. So as I've been actually talking to a lot of our customers, the people actually make a big difference. So at Onpheto, we have folks that are specialized in document fraud, user experience, machine learning, as well as financial services veterans. And we also have robust developer documentation, as Swaroop is kind of mentioning and leading to there. So all of these things allow you to move forward confidently and make data-led decisions around your customers and fulfill needs that you have as a business.
And finally, when it comes to scale and speed to market, we know that scale is something that's very, very critical for customers in this industry. Customers want access to their bank accounts when they need it at all times during the day. So having a service that's not just reliable, but also very scalable is very, very critical for us.
I agree with you there. What I would add to that is also kind of think through the ease of integration as well as the speed to market that you're able to establish with your identity and access management partners. So I think at both Okta and Onfido, we definitely value kind of both our robust APIs and SDKs, but then also think about the future. So don't think about where you are as a business right now, but also your future plans. So for example, do your providers offer global coverage throughout the entire world? Do they offer and kind of eliminate any biases that are kind of present within their algorithms? And this will allow you to future-proof not only, but also to eliminate any operational inefficiencies or problems that may come up after trying to use multiple providers if the first one is not a right fit. And with that, I think Swaroop and I have been talking a lot about our solutions, but let us show you actually what this looks like through this quick demo video.
Hello, and welcome to a demonstration of Okta and Onfido integration. Today we're going to demonstrate a flow of a user registering for an Okta account by leveraging Onfido's identity verification system. Here's a standard Okta sign-in page. The user will create a new account by simply clicking on the Need Help Signing In link, and then Register for a new account. The user will be redirected to the Onfido integration page where it will ask them for some basic account information. They'll enter an email address, a first name, a last name, and a password. Once that's been completed and they click Submit, the identity verification process provided by Onfido will start. The user will click the button to verify their identity, and they'll be able to choose which type of identity document they'll want to use. And they will be able to flow through the process. Many users may not have access to a webcam, so Onfido provides the ability to move seamlessly across devices, which is what we'll demonstrate for you now. The user will click on Continue on the phone, then on Get a secure link, and a QR code will appear. The user will now activate their phone to scan the QR code. Once the QR code is scanned, the browser will prompt the user to let them know that they are connected, as shown here. This will give the ability to take a picture from the front of the license, as well as the back of the license. Once the document is uploaded, the user will be prompted to verify their facial biometrics via selfie. The user moves through the flow by selecting Continue, allow camera access by selecting Enable Camera. The user then takes a selfie. Once a selfie is uploaded, the browser will let the user know it is ready to verify their identity. Next, they click on Submit Verification. The details of the verification will autofill as it's extracted from their ID. They will then be able to click Submit, which will create their Okta account. At this point in time, the user will receive an email from the system once they've been processed. Once the user has submitted their information, it will process through Onfido's ID verification system, where it will check their document for authenticity and match their facial biometrics to the document provided. From the customer's point of view, we move to Onfido's dashboard where a check has been completed for the user, Jeff Hickman. Notice the document and facial similarity report has returned as clear. There's a number of different checks that we perform, allowing the customer to validate the age, whether a document is known compromised, data consistency points, data validation, visual authenticity, and image integrity. For facial similarity, we'll tell the customer how close the face matched with a facial comparison score, as well as if there was any spoofing detected on that selfie. This dashboard is simply a way to visually check, but the software actually returns as an API call, which is automatically provided inside the Okta system. That user is now able to go and log in directly to Okta. Now we'll demonstrate the flow of the user that has forgotten their password and needs to go through the account recovery process. Typically, they could use an email address or a phone number. But let's say in this example, that information wasn't collected. This gives a very easy way for the users to still recover their account without having to supply that information by using their facial biometric. To begin this process, the user will navigate and click on the link, Need Help Signing In. Then, Forgot Password, and they'll be redirected to the Onpheto integration page. This allows the users to reset their password by providing the email address they used to register with, and then allows them to reset via the different methods. The user will click the Reset via Selfie button, which will start the Onpheto SDK. The user will then click Verify Identity. To keep moving through the flow, they'll click Continue. They will be prompted to allow camera access if their system supports a webcam. Otherwise, it would flow back into a cross-device process like we saw in the registration step. The user is able to take a selfie, and then it will process in the back-end system, waiting for match. This usually takes a few seconds to make sure it's the same person who previously registered initially, and making sure that their biometric data matches with the previous data. Once that match is found, it will progress to the page we see now. The user simply creates a new password. Once they submit it, they will be redirected to the sign-in page and will be able to log in as normal with the newly created password. As you could see, that process was extremely quick and very easy for the end user to execute. And that's it. Thanks for your time. Stay safe out there.
Great. Hopefully that video was helpful for everybody. And now I'm sure, as we've all been waiting for, we actually want to move forward with our conversation with our customer. One of our amazing customers, B89, is here with us today to share their story. They're the first 100% digital bank in Peru, based in Lima, and they are actually a joint Okta and Onfido customer. So with that, I'll hand it over to Alfy, who will be moderating the discussion.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's pretty exciting to be here. My name is Alfy Louis. I'm the Vice President running the Financial Services practice for Onfido. I have an exciting conversation today with B89 team. Before I introduce the team, I'd like to introduce myself. I spent pretty much most of my career around the financial services in various capacities. Been an entrepreneur, been an executive, been a consultant, and certainly see the digital world / digital native banking is an emerging practice, certainly exciting to be part of. And today we have one of those digital native banks team that I would love to introduce. And we will talk about the digital experience leveraging identity management systems. And we have Okta and Onfido as platforms. And certainly we're going to try to touch on the values that both companies provided to that team. So with me today, I have Mauricio Rodriguez and Ricardo Torres, and I'd love to pass the mic to both of them to introduce themselves. Mauricio.
Hi, Alfie. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me and Ricardo. I'm Mauricio. I'm the UX director for B89.
Ricardo.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm happy to be here. My name is Ricardo Torres. I'm security engineer here at B89. I'm helping here.
Well, thank you for sharing the time with us, guys. I would love to start the conversation by asking you about the B89, the story behind B89, what it means. If you can give us context, would be great.
Sure. I'll take that one. So B89 was actually founded by a small team in 2019 in Lima, Peru. And this small team, we used to call ourselves bank rebels because most of us came from traditional banking. And we knew that the things could be done better. And we believed in really improving the financial conditions that people had here in Peru. And we aimed for everyone to have a healthy relationship with their own finances. So we believe a lot in technology. Actually, we're a fintech, but we prefer to call ourselves a tech fin, because we put technology always. It's very important for us to go with hand to hand with the financial services. Um, so regarding the name, we are always asked if B in B89 stands for a bank. It actually stands for the Spanish word for well-being, which is bienestar. And we believe a lot in that, as I just said. We believe that relationships with your financial products should be very, very healthy, and you should be happy. And the 89 comes from actually the year 1989, which for us represents two main events that are very important for B89. The first one is the fall of the Berlin Wall, which for us is very important because, you know, walls go down, the barriers are broken, and it's all about global and expansion and the free world, you know. And also, it was the year where the World Wide Web was invented. So for us, those events are quite important.
Well, thank you for sharing. My understanding is it is digital native bank, which basically you guys have no branches or no physical presence for customers to interact with. So you must rely on the customer experience in the digital world. And we've been seeing the shift from product-centric banks to what you would call customer-centric banks. So what does that mean for you, and what does the technology role mean in your world? If you can elaborate a bit on the customer centricity values there.
Sure. Before going like answering that question, it's very important, I think, to explain a little bit of the context of the Peruvian mindset that we have here, because the B89 started here. So I would say that the Peruvian mindset about banking is quite unique, but maybe not that different from the rest of South America. You know, there's a mistrust towards traditional banking and financial institutions. And people usually tend to value a lot like face-to-face relationships. So they're very used to going to the bank branches and spending a lot of time there trying to solve their inquiries. So we saw a huge opportunity in improving this situation. And we saw also that mobile penetration here in Peru is very big. It's more than 90%. Everyone has a smartphone. So with COVID-19, this digital transformation even went further, and people started doing lots of transactions and you know, buying stuff and doing things that they were not supposed to be doing before, because they were afraid of using the credit card through the phone and making payments. So this was a huge opportunity for us. So we see this as the possibility of bringing the bank to the people, bringing the whole experience in a digital way to them without losing any of the things that they value in the physical world. Like they feel more secure maybe because they can see the teller face to face, but we try to show them, and we're making huge progress in that it can be as safe or even safer if you do it digitally, that you can ask for any product that you want through our app, that it's safe, it's fast. So for us, it's about that. It's about bringing all this experience that they were used to in the physical world to the digital world, but even make it better, safer, faster, and more customized. So I'm gonna let Ricardo also talk about this, because technology plays a very important role for what I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was as Mauricio mentioned. We believe that customer is the center of our current operation, our main operation. So in order to achieve the goals, to get in touch with them, to hear them, we use the technology in order to create these channels, to create the end-to-end backend for them. And also we believe that the trust is a key for every relationship. So we think that they need to trust us as a company, and we need to trust them as customers. We need to know who are them. We need to know why are them using our services. And due to that, we believe also that among the technology, the security is an important part here at B89. Since we're like 15% of the team is only the security team, we ensure that the customer can trust us, can feel secure. That's a great way for us.
Interesting. Well, so what I heard is you guys brought the customer at the center of your operations. Security was a fundamental key to build the trust, and eventually you are using your platform not only to conduct the transaction but also to educate and empower folks to use the digital native bank. Thank you for the clarity. I have another question to ask. So just focusing on the security and identity aspect. So I am agreeing with the notion that when you flip the model from a product centric to customer centric, you got to start with the identity of your customer. Are you really dealing with the right people at the right time? Do they present who they claim to be? So how did you make that decision to partner with Okta and Onfido? And how did it really work for you? And if you can talk about the progress there as well, it would be great.
Yeah, I got this one. Well, first of all, you said we need to ensure that the customer is who he claims to be. And due to that, during our planning process, we were thinking about, hey, which security features are we going to have in order to ensure this part? Because we can establish a relationship with the customer if we don't agree if they are who they have to be. So first of all, we were thinking about, hey, document validation, our prevent document. Also, we need to search for the watch list validation verification in order to know that they are not some bad people. And we need to ensure that their accounts, their credentials are secured in a good way. And also after that, we were thinking about, hey, we need something that help us to deploy faster. Something like plug and play, something that is highly available over the world, something that has global coverage, because we don't know if in the future we will like to expand to other countries and we need more documentations, we need maybe more servers in order to validate the people in real time. And due to that, we choose Okta and Onfido because they fit perfectly with our needs. As it said before, since they are really fast to implement, they're really easy to implement also. And we were able to implement our first version of our application in only 4 months, since June from last year to October for last year, I think. Yeah, we started with that. We started with the first version of onboarding. I mean, we only need the people to take a picture of their Peruvian documentation, also take a video selfie. That is something that's really popular here. So it's like they don't do anything that they don't know. And after that, Okta help us managing their accounts, and also we are able to provide her with multi-factor authentication, which is a really good feature to ensure the security for them.
Got it. So basically use the identity platforms to act as the front end instead of the branch or the physical world. You used Okta and Fido as the front end. So basically, my handshake with the bank became through the identity. So is there any specifics you want to talk about why Okta and Fido combination, why big Okta platform, what specific you looked at that made that decision a little bit more precise, accurate, fast? Why Octa and Fido so specifically?
Yeah, well, first of all, where we were looking, as it said you, with a platform of a tool that has the technology to ensure or to validate some things that we want in real time. We came through Onfido, which also has the Peruvian documentation in their like in the technology. So we were able to only plug them and also to continue that part. And well, in Octa is well known that they are very known to be the one of the top technologies for identity for credentials. So that's why we decided to partner with both, because we thought that it's as you said, a good front end. Instead of leveraging this to our people, we prefer
Got
to
it.
leverage this to technology.
Got it. So I'm sure ease of use, ease of deployment, broader global presence played a major role in that recognition effort. Well, thank you for the answers. Um, if you were to talk to traditional banks today, what would you share with them? What were your best practices that they could learn from your experience? If you can share with us your thoughts there.
Sure. After working B89, I used to be a consultant. So I've seen this. I was a consultant for user experience for different traditional banks. So what I'm gonna say, probably it's kind of obvious, but I still like the last years I worked in that, I still saw it was happening. So um, it's about changing the mindset, I would say. Traditional banks are actually very business driven, which is not a bad thing. But you need to always listen to the customer. So create as many touch points as you can with them, and let him drive what really you need to be making, the kind of products you need. Constant validation and being agile is it's part of what I would recommend, and the practices I would recommend that they implement. So Ricardo, I don't know if on the technology side, maybe you have also some practices that you could recommend.
Yeah, sure. Well, for me, I think that the traditional banking, they work as every system as an obelisk, which do several functions, several jobs in only one system. Well, that's a good part, but for me, it's better to focus on little models in order to do uh, each one make a function. But with this, we were able to focus when there is an issue in certain model, in certain job. And also we can mix that up in order to create new processes. For example, if we have a model of document validation and a model for, I know, recovering password, we could mix that up in order to create a new recovering method, a new recovering process. Or also we can use maybe the document validation in order to enable some transactions. But this is why we believe that little models better for that.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing. I think that confirms my point of view as well. Is customer centricity really means you start with the customer and you build your functions and features and securities and the purpose for is around the customer, and fundamentally trust is everything. And I've heard it quite clear in the conversation here is the user experience is what you really need to start with, making it easy for the customer to understand and accept and use. Well, thank you for sharing, guys. So you guys have been at it for a bit now. How is it going? What's the progress? When can we see more of B89, especially if you guys gonna come to the US?
Sure. I'm gonna say that we're very happy about, especially last 2 months. They have been crazy, but a good kind of crazy. We've been having a lot of work, and that's a good thing. And we just reached 100,000 people on the waiting list, which is huge for us. The last 2 months, especially, as I said, the waiting list grew exponentially, and we reached our first 1,000 customer goal. So we're still growing pretty fast in Peru. We have milestones ahead, very ambitious milestones coming up. And we're actually, yes, as you said, we're expanding, and you should expect us in the US this year also.
Awesome. Well, I do appreciate you guys taking the time and sharing your insights and experiences. For the audience, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to share more details and insights. I certainly happy, ready to talk explicit about how identity could help. And again, thank you for sharing the time with it today, and look forward to many more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Back to you, Brian. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Alfy. So we're actually going to spend a couple minutes here just answering some questions that came in through the chat here. Looks like the first question is primarily geared towards Onfido, maybe a little bit of Okta here, but the question is, it kind of reads, after investing in and deploying this type of identity system that you've covered, what other use cases are there out there? What other kind of pockets of value are there that's out there?
That's a very good question. Certainly, when you deploy this complex combination of systems with the thinking and the effort and the investment you make to deploy for the sake of customer centricity, you certainly want to use the system for a lot more than just validating someone as he claims he is to be. The reality is you want to onboard that individual, you wanted to give him access to other systems, you wanted to ensure that the relationship is almost frictionless, flawless, consistent authentication, active all the time. So there's a lot of use cases I've seen traditional banks use in the case of KYA, know your applicant, where when I go apply for a loan or a mortgage, I'm validated already. I don't have to go through the exercise of KYC again. I have seen the cases in KYB where I'm part of a business and I have the signing authority. So I've seen the utilization of such tool. So fundamentally, building a comprehensive system like this, you definitely elevate the value that you're providing to your customer, and you can really claim customer centricity by making it frictionless, making it flawless, making it simple, making it as easy as take a selfie. So I can see quite a few other use cases where customers deal with the bank, replacing the branch, replacing the need to talk to support. So quite a few other use cases that I've seen in real life deployment.
Nice, thanks, Alfy. I think that answers the question well. Another question here, specific to the integration. It just says, how does the Okta and Onpheto integration work? Maybe I can give a high level, and then Swaroop, you can kind of chime in terms of what I'm missing. So we're actually working on a new and updated version of our integration that should be going live really soon, any day here. And really, the integration gives customers a way to control and easily manage the Onpheto API through workflow templates using the template functionality. And at the end of the day, it really just saves customers time by automatically updating Okta directory user profile information with the identity verification check results there.
Yeah, Brian, that's definitely a very easy way for people to get started with the Okta and Onfido platform and unlock all the different use cases that Alfy was mentioning. Yes, that is definitely a very low-code way and approach to low-code approach to leveraging the Okta and Onfido platform. But also beyond that, if you are someone who has a strong developer team, a strong technical team, and that wants to integrate directly to using our APIs, we have a number of customers who leverage Okta's registration hooks and make a call out to Onfido. So the short story is there are a number of very powerful ways in which you can pick up and integrate the two solutions together. Depending on what your business need is, how quickly you want to launch the product, you can pick either one of those approaches.
All right, and I think the last question we might have time for here is specifically maybe for Ricardo, might be a good question for you, but the question kind of asks, what was the most challenging part during the implementation process? And then also, how are you looking to improve upon the solution that you actually implemented?
Yeah, sure, thanks for that question. Well, actually, since Mauricio mentioned it before that we are customer centric, we're always looking for improve our processes. Due to that, one of the most challenging part is fit that expectation for our customers to our technologies, and also bring that to our implementation with Onfido and Octa. I remember that one time we have one issue is that here at Peru is like 4 or 5 months ago, there was an update of the Peruvian document. So we have like 3 documents at the same time. So we need to ask Onfido in order to update the templates and also to improve their SDK in order to capture more this information and also to improve the pictures that we got.
And then anything else you would think about in terms of kind of improving it, or you think that pretty much kind of covers it there, Ricardo?
Oh, yeah. Also, I forgot to mention that, to be honest, we are in the version 2 of our onboarding process. So we need to not only put more layers of the identification and verification, we also need to improve the performance for our application, and also how are we using Onfido and Octa to improve that part. I think that also Okta and Onfido, I know that they are implementing new features that we could use for new processes and to secure our customers in that part.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for that, Ricardo. Very helpful. So I think we're going to close out here, and I'll hand it back to Swaroop to close things out.
So getting started with the Okta and Onfido is very simple. Visit the Okta and Onfido integration page to learn more and see some of the technical details that the team at B89 just spoke about.
Yeah, and feel free to scan the QR code here live. We can also send everybody here a link as well. And much like we've done with B89 and many others, we'd love to partner with you on your digital identity journey, no matter how big or small the steps you take. So please reach out if you think we can help. You're able to sign up for a free trial at this link, download a joint data sheet, as well as request a customized demo from Okta and Onfido. And with that, we'd like to close and thank you so much for your time. And we hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.